Ciao ragazzi, bentornati sul canale. Oggi abbiamo un altro grande ospite qui con noi per continuare questa serie di interviste con personaggi internazionali del mondo di House. Abbiamo qui con noi stasera James Tinsdale, giocatore di inglese, originario di Liverpool, con una grande reputazione nell'ambito inglese. Ci parlerà anche delle sue vittorie nel campo e un po' del suo approccio al gioco comunque. Hi James, how are you doing?
Hi, good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, thanks for coming on the channel. It's really an honor.
Thanks for asking.
Awesome. Okay, so let's get it on. The first question I wanted to ask you is kind of a generic question, but it's a good way to get to know you, your background as well. So, how did you start on the hobby? What made you start Warhammer? How did it go for you?
Well, I went into my local games workshop like everybody else. Just the models, really. You walk past the shop. Because my job, I'm a game designer for the video game industry. Ooh. So I make AAA games. So I'm always into design, anything, board games, tabletop gaming. So I went in to have a little go, and Age of Sigmar had just been released at that point. I think it was a few months into it. So I got some ghouls, especially at course. I quite like the death, and I went from there. Really, did the slow grow, played, and that's how I got hooked, as you do. Because at that point you don't know any of their armies, do you? So when you play somebody, you're like, what is that army? What does that do? It's still exciting exploration, isn't it, into the tome? So that's how I got started. Yeah.
So did you just walk into Games Workshop, or was it already JustPlay in Liverpool?
No, so JustPlay actually came after, which is the club. You might have heard Richard Ian's podcast. It's the club I play in. And no, that came after. I was playing in the store. The store closes at 6 p.m. here in the UK, so I'm not quite sure if it has later hours, but here in the UK, 6 o'clock, everyone goes home. I work during the day, so really it was like, how can I play games? So I started looking for local clubs in Liverpool, and it just so happened I went into JustPlay. Met Richie, obviously, and Ian, and then we've blossomed since then. It's been years now, but obviously I brought my friends down, got to meet the guys from the JustPlay who are already playing there. And it's been, that's just, but now obviously I play JustPlay all the time. Richie is easily my favourite person to play. I can play Richie for 10 hours a day and not get bored. So, and that's just watching him get wound up. But no, it's really cool. And I'm very lucky because it's not always easy to have such a local club with so many players. I'm very lucky, fortunate. Even in the UK, it's not that common to have that on your doorstep. So I'm very lucky.
Yeah, I was just curious. How many people do you usually have on club night playing?
Probably between 12 and 16. But probably just because of the store space. But they're all very, very focused match play gamers.
Okay.
People play during the week with narrative games. A lot play Shadespire. I don't know if you guys play that there, but some guys come in on a different night for Shadespire, and obviously we have a big 40k as well, which I don't play, but lots of people do. So yeah, it's pretty cool. Nice. You only fit 7 people in the store, so but it's very cool. They have such a nice little group.
Sounds like a really cool group of people playing together. And
I love my club.
Yeah. I mean, I will probably post the link of the podcast in the description as well. But just for whoever doesn't know it, JustPlay is a podcast hosted by the guys of that share the club with James, and I mean it's a really cool podcast. They really cover lots of stuff. Match play obviously as well, mainly, and I mean, check it out. I will post a description of course of the podcast.
Rich and Ian do a great podcast. So it's very, and they get deep into the weeds, don't they?
That's true.
It's a great listen. If you're into match play, it's a great listen.
Yeah. I got to it kind of late, just like a few months ago, and I went back and listened to the deep dive they did about a series of Sigmar. It was like 6 or 7 hours long, and I was like, this is cool. I mean, all those tiny little details that I was looking for, all of them were in the show.
Was that on the Cities of Sigmar?
Yeah.
With one of my best friends, Tom. So he's another one who came to the club with me. So he's he probably prefers monsters, but no, and that's a really good one as well. And also these, I think, they probably have a year expiry, don't they? Because the GHB system, you can go back and listen to them and they'll still be relevant. You know, some of the concepts they talk about and armies and rules. Mm-hmm. So especially when they do a tome review, that'll stay relevant anyway.
That's true. Yeah.
So it's really good listen. I am biased, obviously.
Yeah. Cool. So getting to talk about match play as well. So a big kind of highlight for you, I think, was winning the GT last year, right?
Oh, by far. Yeah, that's the best thing I've ever done.
Yeah, so I mean, it's kind of a little time ago, but I'm sure you remember it kind of well.
Every day.
Yeah,
I relive it every day.
So I mean, I understand it's hard to talk about it, but in from all the perspectives. But how was it? I mean, what did it feel to win? How was it to achieve such a thing for you?
I don't want to say surreal because I knew I had a chance to do it. Because I'd taken it. Brian Carmichael's a friend of mine. He was a very good Slaanesh player. Had encouraged me for a long time to take this Slaanesh list. So I was like, okay, I'll do it for the finals. Because I was painting up these Keepers of Secrets, the new models. So I had to get 3 of those. I was like, okay, we'll get that done. And I'll give it a go. And at the time, I don't know if everyone remembers, but Storm Fiends, like units of 6, 9 of them were like everywhere, and I was like, I am going to get blasted. If I see any Skaven armies, I am in serious trouble. But I didn't manage to play any, but I had a great run. But I had also, to be honest, it's one of my favorite events because I had amazing opponents as well. So when you go to a GT final, every game is hard. Everyone's won to get there. No one's, you haven't going to get a ticket if you won games in the previous heat. So it's very difficult. And I had some great games. Game of the weekend was probably, I guess, Andy Hughes' game 5. Andy's a great player as well. We played many times before. And he was running Slaanesh. So we had the Slaanesh mirror.
Cool.
So Locust in that match was a nightmare to keep track of. We were both like, right, so are you striking last? And we just had to but we got ourselves through it, and I managed to eke out a win in that. And I think very fortuitously. Although Andy did win every priority roll, which was infuriating. When you know the tournament's on the line, you're like, stop, I don't. But I managed to get it done. But it felt amazing. But because none of my club mates had come down and qualified, I was there with different friends. We had a little celebration when I got back, which was quite cool. Because Richie phoned me because obviously the game was on the stream, and I played a lovely Greek guy in Game 6, who I think is a captain of the Greek ETC team. And we knew we were both playing for possibly the win because I think he'd just drawn against Chris Jr. the game before. I think I haven't seen it, but I think they had a draw, and we were playing for the win basically because I was the only one on 5 wins. And then when I got the 6th win, mathematically you've won. But then I was because I'm playing Slaanesh, I was a little bit like, oh no, because at the time James Workshop valued sports scores, so I thought it's a very aggressive army, it's a very oppressive army. So I thought people might not give me a sports vote or anything, and that's fine. I made peace with that when I took the list. But to get 4 or 5 sports votes as well, it's just unbelievable. So It was amazing. And to win it in Warhammer World as well. And to then have the pandemic delay the season. So I've technically been Grand Champion for almost 2 years.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
so I can say the longest ever reigning Grand Champion. So, but amazing. And Warhammer World events are some of my favourite anyway. So I've been there and lost before. I've been there and won. So to win was amazing because it's very rare in a field of that many good players that you will win 6 games in a row. You can be a great player and still lose. So it's very hard to repeat. But amazing, absolutely amazing to do it. I'll always remember it.
Yeah,
always.
I can imagine. Yeah, that was really. I remember listening to you talking about it on Facehammer as we were talking about it before, and it was really, really cool to hear the kind of escalation of okay, I can do it, okay, I can see it, I'm almost there, and then the pressure kind of started building up during the process, but it takes lots of nerve as well, I think, right?
Day 2's nerve-wracking because you're playing players who have also won, so at that point, it's every game is 5 turns, good players don't lose early, so you have to wait till the end game to see how it's going to shape out.
Yeah.
There's a couple of dice go your way, they go against you during the game. It's an emotional roller coaster, and it all happens in the space of one day. I just remember eating lunch, just being it was just already my head was heavy.
Oh yeah.
And that's before I played Andy. After Andy, I was exhausted. I think on that game 6, I was running on empty, or Haribo as I was eating. So trying to get my blood sugar up. You might see me on stream eating some Haribo. My wife was like, "Make sure your blood sugar's up." I'm like, "Okay." Help me a little bit, but no, it's great, amazing experience. And if anyone can ever get over to Warhammer World and come to a heat, I highly recommend it. It's an amazing place to play Warhammer.
For sure, yeah. So just to remember, whoever doesn't know, you were playing Slaanesh, if I remember correctly, with 2 keepers and Shalaxi, was it? Or 3 keepers?
No, I had 4 with me, but I only started 3. So I had two on the board and Shalaxi, so 3 total. Okay. Yeah, Shalaxi. Okay.
And then you have the Brave Drove battalion, right?
Brave Drove. No, I had what's that? What's called? The one with the Seekers. 3 units of 5 Seekers.
Seeker Cavalcade.
That's the one. I had Seeker Cavalcade. I had the Supreme Cyberites because I had 2 little exalted heroes in with my keepers.
I remember now. Okay.
Because essentially they were little spawn points in the corner, and Brian was always like, make sure you're spawning. I'm like, okay. So, but no, they're really useful throughout the weekend because no one ever really targets them.
Yeah, I mean, as a Slaanesh player myself, I know how important it is to have like some summoning beacons, I call them, like some backup heroes that just stay back, stay safe from harm, and then are ready to summon stuff back up. I used a lot the mask to do this a lot in my list, and she did this recently. Cool. Yeah, so also a very cool model as well. So it was really a pleasure to field her. Yeah, cool. So since you are kind of an experienced player of Slaanesh among the others, since maybe KO and Zinch came out, I have heard people talk about it a lot. The shooting is coming back. The shooting will be coming back. So shooting is coming back. Yeah. Yeah. And this paired with Seraphon coming out, I think it really helped the meta change. So since we had lots of really big heavy hitting armies like Fire Slayers, Flesh Eater Corps, Slaanesh, and now we have kind of more refined movement and magic style armies or shooting armies. And that came also after Ossiarchs as well, so that changed a lot the meta. And I struggled a lot, talking from a Slaanesh point of view, because first of all, Ossiarchs was kind of no way you can win against them. Catapults, that was like a nightmare.
Crawler's about the scariest thing you can see.
Yeah, and then the shooting came, so it was even worse. And I was like, what can I do with these beautiful models that I painted and played for the last year? And there are kind of ways to, I think, mitigate it and answer this kind of meta. So what are your thoughts about it? How can Slaanesh cope with this sort of style?
So it depends. So you either plan, if you go into an event, you plan to be anti-shooting. You either plan to be that, or you build the best list you can and hope you don't play them. Because if you break down the armies, Carriage and Overlords is a gatekeeper army, but they don't win a lot of games because they struggle to get on objectives. So if you don't play them in game 1 or 2, you probably won't see them. Probably. You may see a 1 list, but ultimately they might struggle in the objective-based games, which Slaanesh are quite good at with the summoning and the way the depravity works. But now you've got Seraphon with the Salamanders.
Oh yeah.
You've got Zinch with the Flamers coming into the show. And those guys have premium tickets, so they're hard to really cope with because they can teleport and be anywhere, anytime. So you have to almost either go for a space denial type list, or accept the fact that you're just not the strongest in the yard anymore, and you'll give it a go. You'll have a shot, and you might come out down. It all depends really on your opponent, because in Sigmar, it's really hard to value just how good your opponent is. If they're not a great player, and by that I mean probably not as experienced as they'd like to be, they might not teleport and shoot your keeper secrets. They might not be where you think they're going to be. I know when I played, for instance, at the GT, I was expecting people to do certain things they didn't do. And I was like, oh, right, okay. So it can go that way as well. But if I was going to go to an event today with Slaanesh, I would probably be Demon at heavy, I'd probably have a couple of keepers of secrets, just to be distractions almost, and hope and use them as a. I think, do they still have that saying, the distraction can't effects?
So
Run them into the middle of the board, talk about how much damage they do, maybe kill a screen, locust them on the 3-up or whatever, and then just blow them up. And look how good they are. People go, whoa, I need to kill that. And then hopefully play the actual scenario. Because I think Slaanesh now used to be a very aggro alpha army, where turns 1 and 2 were hugely important. But now I think they've actually, because of the changes to the depravity table, and like you say, the new armies released into the meta, which do have a real emphasis on shooting, and who knows what the General's Handbook will bring as well. You expect stuff like Stormcast and other armies, and they've got ballistas to have adjustments. So you would have to think that you want to be more of an anvil now. You were the hammer, but there are tools in that book to be an anvil. Like, I absolutely think I could take, and I know I'm not, I'm not the test case, but you could take an army and I can get 5 wins, I think, with that book. So, yes, it'd be touch and go against the Salamanders. Yes, it'd be touch and go against Change Hosts, for sure, with the Flamers. Like, that would be horrific. But what if I don't play it? You should never go into an event being dismayed, because you love your army, you love your models, you put the time and effort in, you love playing Warhammer, and sometimes, okay, it might be a really bad matchup for you, but you might not play it. Like, I didn't play any Storm Fiends, So, but I worried about them for about 3 weeks prior. So, especially Jack, Mr. Armstrong, ran them on GT, and he was like, he was chatting to me all on the build-up, saying, well, they're just going to blow you off the board. I'm like, cool, I cannot wait for that. Because that's the other side of it as well, isn't it? Like, I think I tweeted before the event that I was going to be the boogeyman, if you will, and take Slaanesh, because they were quite, people were like, Slaanesh is very oppressive. But the counter-argument was always, but what if you play Storm Fiends? Or what if you play a magic heavy armor that can just delete the keepers without interacting with Locust? And the other side of that was Fire Slayers were there. So I don't know if you've ever charged a Keeper of Secrets into a block of 20 Hearthguard. I'll tell you right now, it doesn't go very well for the Keeper of Secrets.
Oh, yeah, of course.
So you don't have it all your own way. But again, that comes back to people's perception. Yes. It's the perception, isn't it? Not the reality, it's the perception. So it was really tough. But in today's meta, I'd probably go Pretender's Host. And for that reason, I'd take the Uber Keeper. I'd also take a lot of Demonettes in the, I forget what it's called, the Demonette Battalion that allows me to do mortal wounds on 6s. Very similar to what Andy Hughes was on at the grand final. And go for a scenario style army with magic denial. So I get my epitome in there. I get like maybe the mask, maybe some small heralds, a few more unbinds, especially now that Teclis is going to enter the fray. And just try and do like a magic denial sort of board control aspect and win that way. Because Demonettes piling in twice, 30 of them, exploding 6s, doing more than 6s, can be horrific. So that's how I would build it. The tendency is always just to have 4 Keepers Secrets and just go nuts. Like, this is going to be either amazing or awful, but it's only going to last 3 turns either way. So I think KO will always be a problem for Slaanesh. If you play KO, in the same way that if KO plays, Hearthguard Berserkers or something else, it will really struggle. Every army, not in a paper, scissors, rock start way, but every army has somebody they don't want to see. Or at least that should be the case. If you're playing an army that doesn't mind who it plays, it's probably too scary at that point. I feel the same, because I feel like we are in a kind of a moment that really feels like this, where you can win against an army, but then that army will lose against another one, and then the third army will win against the first one. It's kind of a moment where you have bad matchups, you have doable matchups, you have good ones as well. So it's a really balanced moment, I think, right now. And also, you hope that in a situation like that, you hope that the scenarios are the equalizer. Now, Change Host is really bad for me, but if we're playing Arcane Places of Power and it's only got a Lord of Change and a Fate Skimmer, they have to be in the middle of the board. Now, they can delete my army, but if I kill those 2 heroes before they kill mine, I won. So you hope that sometimes, I know that's a very niche example, but you hope that the missions can help equalize it a little bit. you might get your worst opponent in terms of your hardest matchup, but in the best scenario for your army. So, like when I played Andy, it was at the Saucer. He had focal points with Hellcar Berserkers. I mean, it's almost unwinnable for me. So he hit the dream combo. And that was a different event. So, it just shows you. It's just, and hopefully that's the balance that hopefully match play can have, that you're not always out of it just because you're playing, your paper to your rock, if you will, matchup. Hopefully the scenario can maybe help you. Sometimes it doesn't, but maybe it can.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see with the new General's Handbook that's coming really close. And
that's right, on pre-order, isn't it? So we're about to start a new season. We might not get to events soon. But we're certainly going to have the book. Yeah,
that's true. I'm really excited about it as well.
Good time of year, isn't it? Everybody gets excited to see what point changes happen to what armies, but also what changes are to match play as well. And I think it's one of the nice things about our hobby is we get that every year. If you're a bit dismayed or a bit disgruntled with the previous book, and there's a new one coming every year, so you can be like, "Oh, awesome! I'm back into it."
Yeah, true. Yeah. Speaking of match play, so I was really curious, with your experience of playing, there were any I wouldn't say techniques, but kind of like little tips and tricks that really help you improve your game, just become a better player over time. If there's something that really help you step your game up during the process that you.
Well, because I've only been playing for a couple of years, so it's rare for someone of my experience to have the success, if you want to call it that, that I've had in winning. 16 tournaments last year, I won 6, podiumed 12 of them. So I think the key to improving as a player is, one, have an army that you love. If you're playing an army that just to win, or you're playing an army, which is fine, that's a viable thing. But if you're better chasing, you can become dismayed if you don't win, and that can not be healthy because it is time and money for people. Like, we joke about the 3 Keepers of Secrets, but they're like £85 each. They're not cheap. So find an army that you love, that you want to paint, and then sit down and go, right, okay, I either need a great practice partner, or I need to play anybody I can and learn from my mistakes. So and I've played other top players who don't do this, and they'll blame me, they'll blame the dice, they'll blame different things, but they never say to themselves, what did I do wrong? So, for instance, as an example, I played my last tournament, Element Games Grand Slam, and I was leading after the first day, and I was playing Mr. Ben Curry in the morning.
Yeah.
And it was on, again, a hero mission, and he had Marathi, and I had Bone Reapers, so I had 4 crawlers. I had 40 Mortek Guard, 4 crawlers, 2 10s, a Liege, and a Bone Shaper. So I knew I only had 2 heroes. And I played Daughters. I played the same list in focal points and tabled it in 2 turns because the crawlers just did too much damage to the Witch Elves.
Yeah.
However, in this one, I couldn't kill Marathi, so she was always going to have one objective. So Ben knew that if he puts his Cauldron on the other one with a Grist Feather at -2, he just needs to live long enough. And the mistake I made was turn 1. I had the deployment I wanted. I had everything I wanted in terms of what had unfolded. But I moved my 40 Mortek Guard up towards the left objective. So I was in range of my Bone Shaper to do my synergies. So for people that don't know, you can reroll shields.
Yeah.
And I'm Petrifex Elite, so I can improve my rend as well when I attack.
Yes.
But then I made the old mistake of saying, well, I rolled the charge anyway, and I'll just see what I get.
Oh yeah.
And I rolled it, and I got like a 10 or 11. That's something big. I was like, I can get quite a few of them. And in that moment, I lost the game because I didn't realise it then. But I moved them in, killed about 20 Witch Elves of the 60. But I wasn't in range of any of my synergies or buffs. So I lost about 10 back. And then I put myself in danger of, if I lost the roll-off, those Witch Elves could fight in the hero phase and just blow up my only unit I have, which is exactly what happened. And had I not charged, I was in a great position. I could have simply just removed the Cauldron the next turn, win or lose the dice roll-off. So that's something I'd have to acknowledge and say, okay, well, I know that for next time. And yes, it's a new army for me, so I wasn't particularly experienced, but As a player, I should probably know better, but you have to highlight those mistakes and go, oh, well, that's probably a big reason why I lost. And I would say improving as a player is always to identify things you do as a mistake. And it might seem like the finest of margins, but sometimes in a dice game where you're not in control of the roll, you need to do everything you can to mitigate the roll. So you should never ever lose a game because you lost a turn 2 roll off. I hear that said quite a lot. So I would say to people, if that is the case, evaluate what you're doing with your first turn, because some armies use the priority roll to excel them, like Slaanesh. A Slaanesh double turn, Slaanesh players would talk all day about how good they are. But also you should mitigate against that, right? Some armies don't want to go twice in a row. They want to give the turn away and keep denying. And that's the unique thing about Sigmar is the priority roll. I know it's quite Marmite for people. But again, if you ever lost a game because you didn't win turn 2 priority, that's a good example to go back and say, what could I have done? I commentated on a game of Warhammer Heat on Twitch. When my friend JP played against Matthew Goldsborough, who's a great player, he had Slaanesh. And he had the decision, does he run forward or try and live for one turn with JP's crawlers shooting him? And he chose to run, and he got baited in and eventually lost the game. But in hindsight, when you watch it back, you think if he'd have just stood and made a few 4-up saves, he would have been in a much better position. But it's hard, isn't it, in the moment as well? It is hard when you're at the table to have that kind of discipline and go, no, I could do it, but I'm going to stand here and I might roll 4-up saves, I might not, but I'm going to try. But yeah, there's a lot of things you can do, but I would say those are the key ones. Either get a good practice partner, because I'm very fortunate to have Rich as mine, or learn from it. Play everyone you can, but learn from any mistakes and take risks. Sometimes when I'm playing practice games against clubmates, I just do things to see what would happen.
The cool thing about it is that you can just say, okay, that went this way. Do you mind if you go back a turn and then do the right thing? So you can just see whatever the outcome was.
And don't be afraid to lose, because I think sometimes it's lost on people. It's just a game of Warhammer. If you lose and it's fun, you're like, okay, but don't get down and don't get stressed because you're losing. It's just a game, and try and enjoy it at the table, because I do see some people's demeanor. It changes, and then all it becomes not fun for them if they're not winning. So that's where it comes back to picking an army that you really love.
That's true. Because I really believe that if you don't lose, you never learn to play better. Because you just go on your confidence and you never know the weak points of your list or your army in general. So losing really helps a lot in the learning curve.
And I sometimes say to people, because a lot of people when they play me ask, what could I have done to win? What could I have done better? But I always say to them, well, I did this, and this wrong. Even though I won the game, I'm pointing with my eels. So I'm more known for my deepkin. So I point and say, well, I should have gone here first. I shouldn't have charged over there. But I got away with it. That doesn't mean I was good. It just means I was lucky. And you need luck as well in a dice game. But it's important to acknowledge that when you win, you can self-assess as well and say, well, there's definitely things I could have done better. So to your point, I don't just walk away from the table going, I played a perfect game. There's always things you can do to improve, because they'll come back. Because if you do the same habits, they'll come back to bite you again and again. Like, if you put your eels in a bad fight time and time again, eventually the luck will run out and they will just get deleted. And it'll be too late then. So, those are probably the key takeaways.
Really cool. Yeah, that's really really great tips. I think that that's really some key points to start from to enhance your play style for sure, definitely. Yeah,
and once you get into that habit, you do it all the time then. Yeah. Once you start doing it, you can't help but do it. Like me and Richie had literally a 40-minute conversation on Monday about the sequencing of my KO shooting. Just because it's interesting, isn't it? How you might have a different opinion to what I should be doing than I do, and neither of us are right, but we could be. So it's always interesting to think just because you did it that way and it makes sense, is it necessarily? It can also make sense a different way. There's multiple ways to do it, but I always find those kind of conversations just fascinating.
Cool. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, having a point of view from someone else is really a big thing. That's why I found this podcast not only interesting but also really inspiring, because you have opinions from people that for me in particular, I'm not even from my own country, so they probably have gaming styles completely different from ours, from people from over here. So it's really interesting to hear someone else's take on the hot unit or whatever that really played over here, and that maybe doesn't even exist as a thing on the table in the UK maybe. So it's really enlightening to hear all these things.
Yeah, that's one of the fascinating things as Sigmar grows, isn't it? In terms of like how the game develops, say Italy as it is to England, you know, because even when here we have a thing called like the Six Nations, and their local countries like the Irish guys, Scottish guys, Welsh guys. These are guys we play at normal events, but in their own countries they have slightly different methods.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting, and you know, and it's more like Italy might have a completely different table, because when I played Game 6 at the finals, and the ETC Greek captain, he was like, "Oh, I don't normally play those kind of Slaanesh lists back home," because he said, because when we discussed it before the game, he says very familiar with Slaanesh. He knew what they did. He was very keen to get his ball off, which I was obviously very fearful of. But he hadn't played a keeper heavy list. He'd been playing a demonet heavy list, you know, similar to what Andy was running. So it just shows you different countries have very different ways to play the game.
That's
just naturally, some countries might favour horde armies, just as a personal preference.
Yeah, I did a show about this. Like, I mean, just basically ripping off what Rob does on the Honest for Gamer. I took all the stats from the kind of league we have going on here, the Lega Chaos, from all the past year, since it's basically done for this year because of all the COVID and whatever. And we did all the show from just assessing all the stats of what army was played a lot, what army won a lot, and it was really cool to see. I did also a little thing where I compared it to the international meta, and there were, significant differences from the percentages of. I mean, we have, I don't know why, but we have lots of corn, we have lots of flesh eater cores, we have a buttload of Skaven, and there's stuff that's like underrepresented from some reason, and it really helps you. I mean, overall, even if it seems kind of too big of a scale, but if you're going to a tournament, you can take that and have a look and say, okay, there's a huge chance I can find some prize players. There's a huge chance I can find some corn, but on the other side, maybe I won't find any, Zinch or whatever. So that's also a tool that I think helps in list building and picking an army for an event as well.
Yeah, and it's really interesting to hear those kind of armies being prevalent in Italy, because like the stats probably don't support that for the UK, but that doesn't mean that anybody's right. And I think that comes back to, it might just be a simpler reason as that's the armies those players like. You know, the reason why there's a lot of corn, or the reason why we have a lot of, let's say, Stormcast or whatever, is because the players go into the shop and it's just the army they like. And that is a factor as well. There are obviously people that chase meta and stuff, and they have armies for that reason. But a lot of people just play the armies they like.
That's true.
And that might just be Stormcast. And it might not be the favorite, it might not be your favorite storm host, but that's the good thing about the hobby is everybody should have something they feel reflects them when they play.
Absolutely, yeah. So speaking about armies, we have the new hot army, right? Those proper elves, I think they call them.
Proper elves, yeah. Lumineth Realm Lords are very cool, aren't they? Very cool.
So, I was curious to get your insight about it. How do you feel about them? Do you like them? And the big question is, techless or not techless?
I'm very pro techless. As a Deepkin player, we haven't forgiven him, but he's certainly important to us. I think techless, he brings a certain reliability to the army. That if you're playing at an event with the idea to try and win 4 or 5 games, and you're seeing armies like Zinch and Seraphon, he's also a very good magic denial piece. And I think if those armies are prevalent in your meta, you want to be considering techless. And I also think he's a great source of range damage for them. I know they've got the Sentinels as well, but his casting is so strong, it's very hard for armies to stop that damage. And I know people have gotten onto the whole spell portal double bubble thing.
Yeah.
And that's just one example of how he can clip an entire army. Because you remember, as a support piece, which is what he is, he's going to have to do his damage from range. So it's something the army probably needs. If you play games with the Lumineth, they tend to be a castle-style army that unpacks when it's time to win the game. They want to be fighting side by side, rank and file, as I think the law says in the book, which is really cool. It's reflected with the Wardens and Sentinels battle line rule. But I think when it's time, the castle will unpack and they'll go on to objectives and try and win. But I'm very pro Teclis. But I think the army is really cool because it's an interesting army entering the meta. Because you always get that with the new army, don't you? You get people losing their minds, saying it's broken, this is going to ruin the game. And then, when people thought 4 ballistas would be a game breaking in a list, I'm still yet to see them. So, but people don't just let you do these things. That's the thing about Sigma. When you talk in hyperbole, you say, okay, well, Teclis can do all these things. But what if KO just shoot in turn 1?
Oh, yeah, that's true.
That's
very interesting. That's very interesting what you're saying, because first of all, I immediately think about a good friend of ours from a local club that is all over elves, everything elves. So it's a deep keen player, and he was waiting for these Teclis elves for a long time. So they finally come out. He pre-orders them. He's super excited, and now that they're out, he's convinced somehow that Teclis is unplayable because it costs too much points, and that it's like a kind of a mild army that doesn't really do anything. And it's funny because I'm now trying to convince him that actually no, you're wrong, because I think they can do stuff. They can play with Teclis, and you can really actually help them perform what they kind of do on paper, maybe, but he really is there to just be sure that everything is done in the moment it needs to be done. Because at the same time, I was listening to the review from Ian and Richie, and they were talking about turn 3 being the big moment for a Teclis list, because all the ranges are there. Whatever needs to be in combat, it's probably in combat, and then you are ready to unleash all the stuff that probably lots of spells, probably lots of shooting, and all those defensive abilities as well. So it really works around as a debuffing, controlling army. That is a really cool play style, and that doesn't really exist in the game from before.
No, and I think you'll see it have. So in the games I played with it, very, very, very good against Zinch, very good against Seraphon, who are armies that you would normally be like, okay, well, these armies we expect to be, for Salamanders and Flamers, because they're shooting a very real match player threat. But Teclis interacts with them quite well. Yes, of course, he can get shot off.
Yes.
But you do have ways to mitigate that, and you also have ways to increase your saves. If you want to put healing into the list, you could do that with a live swarm or something like that. There are ways around it, and again, this all comes down to what armies you're expecting to play and how you want to build your list going into that event. But I would never when I went to Bloodshed of the Shires, which was last year, I took a very foot ghoul heavy deck list in Morgaunt. So I wasn't Gristlegore, and everyone told me that it was terrible. So I was like, because I'm quite into my narrative, so I was like, it's more of a narrative list. Because at that point, I'd already won, already won. I wanted to take a little break. Sometimes I like to come away from winning because otherwise you can get lost in it. And I still went 5-0. I beat Mr. Sava. I beat Mr. Dan Mitchell. So I beat some really good players with a not a very good list. They both had better lists than me. But it can also come down to play as well. So again, that's something you can have all the tools. But if you're worried that you're not as experienced or competent player, Teclis can give you that sustainability that perhaps you might not need later, but earlier on you might need it. So I would certainly say that to people, like, Teclis is very polarizing, because some people don't like its rules, some people don't like what it does, but every time there's a new rule type introduced into the game, people lose their minds. Remember when Crawlers first came out and people were saying they were going to break the game? Yet to see them win an event with a crawler-heavy list. I tried it myself. Scoring objectives is very difficult. You might be able to kill everyone, but getting there is extremely difficult. So, so there's always balances and counters, and obviously crawlers are very good, obviously. But it's just worth thinking that Teclis, for everyone who says he's too many points or he dies too easily, maybe look at rather than look at the cons, look at the pros and try and get more of them into the list that involve Teclis. Because I think if you do that, you'll have a lot of fun with him, because he's an expensive model. He's not something you want to buy unless you love him and want to be playing him. He's not going to be cheap, is he? So, like I said at the start of the show, make sure if you love the army, you will love using Teclis. His rules. I mean, I know people haven't had the experience yet. Maybe you have if you played in TTS. But when you put him down on a table, you feel like you've got all the power.
Oh, yeah.
When you're playing him,
and you have it in a way.
And it's your hero phase. You just feel like, you're like, I can do anything. And that's how a god should feel, right? Because when you read the lore in the book, that's how he is. So you have to remember when the studio team write rules for models, they write lore first. And I think playing him feels like a god, which isn't always the case. We've all played Alariel, haven't we? We all seen her suffer. So Sylvanet players will tell you.
I started Sylvanet from my first start. So, my Alariel is just right here, so I love her.
So all Sylvanet players will tell you, we love her, but she dies very easily. So, because god models can be polarizing. People love and hate Nagash. People love and hate Alariel when she used to be in the one-drop Dryad list, the Winterleaf. Not in the new book, but previously. People don't like any god models really because they're so polarizing. But it's cool that they exist in our game, and these kind of gods are visualized on the table because it's super cool to have him. It's really cool. But no, I love the Realm Lords. I think they're a great addition to the game. The models, the lore, and time will tell with match play.
Are you planning on getting them, Habib?
Yes, I already have them. So.
Oh, cool.
Well, I have the same as everybody. I have the. Did you pre-order the Lumineth box?
Yeah.
So that's what you can do at the minute, isn't it? So yeah, I have them. Whether or not I'll run them at an event this year, I don't know. Because I'm expecting my daughter in a couple of weeks to arrive, and then I might not get everything painted as I want. But Richie's posted one he's doing. I've seen Les has done them. I've seen loads of people who I don't even know on Twitter, social media, showing amazing paint jobs already. So I fully expect to see them. And when Teclis is available for pre-order, I think you'll see a lot of him.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody wants to do the spell portal combo, don't they? Just for one turn and see how much fun it is, because it is a lot of fun.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, the portal is really coming up on lots of lists, I'm seeing. But
this is it, isn't it? Every book that comes out now, it's like Portal and Bridge. What can we do with them? That's what every tome is looking to do, and it's, it is what it is.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so I mean, closing our little chat. I wanted to ask you, do you have any shout outs? Someone you want to just say hi to, or anything else you want to say?
Well, said hi to the JustPlay guys. Richie, Ian, and those guys. Look forward to playing with them again, whenever that may be. Because of the lockdown in Italy, is it eased now? You guys are allowed?
Yeah, we just started a little bit to come out because we had this kind of phase 2 going from like 3 weeks, I think, from now. I had the chance to go to the first event from before lockdown. We had a little 1K tournament going close to Rome here. And we are. I think the big kind of conventions are starting again from maybe September or something. So events should start. I mean, with all the restrictions and the safety things going on, but hopefully from September everything should start to get back to normal.
And you're going to take Slaanesh?
Yeah. I mean, I had the list going on with the double keeper with one with the Ethereal Amulet, the other with the Ragged Cloak, and it was a good anti-shooting combo. And I used some Seekers as well. I found them really helpful to just go and engage stuff that you don't want to have really close to you, stuff like maybe I don't know, Oryx or anything that even shooting stuff. You just engage them and have them stuck a little bit over there, and then while you're
the movement is amazing.
Oh yeah.
Plus the Slaanesh helps you score early as well, doesn't it? Because I remember I used to when I played them, I used to run at least one unit onto an objective early just to get the scoring going, because it gets the game going a little bit. Because if you don't come and deal with them, they're going to keep scoring. And they can kind of run away and then run behind you because they go so fast. So they can always threaten the back objective later in the game. So they're a very useful unit. And they do put out quite a bit of damage if they can kill a model. You get the extra attack, don't they? So I remember speaking to Mr. Mike Wilson. He had like a unit of 20 of them.
Cool.
All piling in 6, all with +1 attack.
Oh, yes.
Just sounds horrific. With exploding 6s and the rest of it, awful. But it just shows you, again, a unit that people don't necessarily value can still be good. It just comes back to that perception.
Yeah.
People tell me units are bad all the time, but are they really? Like, have you played with them? No, I would never play with them. So, well, I'm like, give them a go and see what happens. People tell me 100 ghouls just dies in a turn. I find they didn't. So, and I played Hearthguard, I played Pterodons. Dan had like 12, 16 of them or whatever it was. Sava had his Rogue Idol and all his boys. And they still couldn't get it done. So it just shows you, like, perception can play a big role in this hobby, I think, sometimes. And people buy into that perception. They want to be told what's good and what's bad day one, and they don't ever really look beyond that. Like, so I encourage people just to have a little look, because perception, some units are bad, don't get me wrong. There's not every unit has it. There's not a case for every unit in the game. But some units aren't as bad as people make out. And they can be the little stars that win your games.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Of course.
They can. Like, I used to play my Deepkin, my little Thralls and Reavers would win me games all the time, because everybody fears the Eels. In the same way with Slaanesh, everybody fears the Keepers, but it's my Seekers and my Hellstriders that were winning the game, because they were on the objective scoring the points. So, obviously with a little help from the Keepers killing everything, but, but you still need them. And when I used to play, you play somebody that kills your Hellstriders turn 1, you're like, ooh, how am I going to score objectives now? This is going to be difficult, because even though they know they're going to get countercharged by 3 Keepers, they still made the right decision, because now I can't score objectives.
Yeah.
Which again comes back to the great equalizer of the game, is the match play scenarios.
Yeah.
And who knows what the General's Handbook has in store this summer. I obviously had fortunate enough to know in advance, but I think a lot of people will have some pleasant surprises coming.
Nice. Yeah, just thinking about this, the first big event I attended was in October in Milan. We had the maybe first big 2-day tournament, and I took my Slaanesh, and it was the moment when people were playing 3-4 keepers and stuff, just playing the list, and I actually said no. I just like demonettes for starters. So I wanted to play them. So I was like, how can I get the best of both worlds? So I ended up taking 2 keepers and 2 units of 30 demonettes, and just like striders and all the years to fill out the Supreme Cyberites. And it worked amazingly, because they were the tool that was missing in most armies to just cap objectives, screen, do area denial, do whatever you needed to do, and just they were just like the heavy lifters of the list at the end of the day.
They are the silent killers, and there's also, I always think there's something to people not having played the unit before. If you put 4 keepers down in front of somebody with the 3 Hellstrider units, the cookie cutter build, if you will, they'll be like, okay, I've read about that, I've seen it, I've heard about it, I know. If you put down 60 demonettes, people might undervalue them. They might see them as a screen blocking the keepers. They don't really play them that well. And before you know it, all of a sudden, the unit of demonettes blows up one of your key, horror units if you're on an objective, and you're like, oh, again, you don't know what people are going to do. I've had people do crazy stuff against me. I've had people do stuff that I never even thought they could do. Because we've all been in that moment, where you're sat thinking, oh no, he's just going to charge that now, and he's going to kill that character, and then they don't. And you're like, what's happened? But then you try and countercharge them, and then you do no damage. And you're like, no, what's happening? So it can go both ways, and I think that's the enjoyment everyone gets out of playing Sigmar. It's that feeling of the game, the emotional roller coaster of those 5 turns. I think is why we all play it, and why we all come back. Because no 2 game is the same.
Oh yeah, that's true. Absolutely.
So that's really good.
Yeah. Okay. So that was really interesting and fun for me to have you here, and it was really a humbling experience to get to know you in person. Thanks for having me on. I just tweeted James, and he was like, "Yeah, of course, let's do this." So
people think I'm too nice or positive, but I'm on Twitter. If people hit me up, I'll hit them back.
Yeah.
We're just people.
Yeah.
And it's always great to. I find it fascinating to hear about people playing Sigmar in Italy, what armies they're playing. And I've been to Italy, as I've told you. I'm really big on Rome is a personal place in my heart. But I'd love to get to Milan.
Yeah.
And play some Warhammer one day. But whether I do or not, I don't know. But it would be great. I mean, I love Italy. The food is amazing.
Oh yeah.
Like consistently really good wherever you go. Like
That's true.
Doesn't matter wherever you go. Just because I used to live in Bordeaux for a year for some, and it was the same there. You know, wherever you went, you could stop at any bistro, restaurant, and the food should still be at a decent high level because the competition along the street and all around is such a good level that if you're not good, you'll just close.
Yeah.
Because the local people won't eat it. So I do love Italian food. It's very good. What would you say is the best Italian dish no one's ever heard of?
Oh, no one's ever heard of. Oh.
Yeah.
Okay,
so Italian
have,
people eat that
yes,
normal people don't eat.
I have an answer that's an answer really close to my heart. So here in Rome, we have a traditional fried food that's called suppli, and it's a rice croquette that has tomato sauce and meat rice filled with mozzarella cheese and then breaded and fried. So it's actually called suppli al telefono, which means suppli at the phone, because when you open it, it does like phone lines with mozzarella, melted mozzarella inside. And it's something you find just in every corner of like pizza places, and it's something really from Rome. So I love it, and I just had it for dinner as well. So
it's amazing, isn't it? When you ask people about food, people eat loads of stuff that people don't know they eat. You know, because I always find that fascinating when I go to different. Like when I went to Tokyo, like you look at stuff at lunch, you think some of the stuff they eat I would never even consider eating, but they eat it every day, and they're like, as if you don't eat this. So I just think, just like Warhammer, food is also a different meta, if you will, wherever you go. But no, I love Rome, and I love Totti as well. He was one of my favorite players.
Oh man, that's
of all time.
Just won the jackpot with this because I am a big time Roma fan. And
I tried to get his jersey when I went, but it was his final season.
I was at his final game. I was at the stadium, and I was just with my shades on and just crying. I couldn't stop crying.
He's so good. But I tried to get his jersey, but I went to the club shop and they were sold out, obviously. Because I went in July, the season wasn't on, and I didn't realise that even people in Rome leave Rome during August because it's so hot. They go on vacation. Yeah. And then they come
Rome
back.
is just empty.
Yeah, so I was like, oh, it's okay. I'll see him in pre-season. And then Rome don't play any pre-season games in Rome. So I was like, I can't see him.
Yeah.
But awful. But no, I love him as well. And De Rossi as well. I love him as well. But Italy have had a lot of football greats, haven't they? Buffon is amazing. But anyway, it's not really Sigmar related. Well, I could talk about
it. So yeah, whenever you have the chance to come here, we'll have some food. We just play some Warhammer. We just go see the game if you want. So
yeah,
we have kind of a nice plan today. So we just need everyone to have the green light to travel again.
Well, it's not far, and when it's safe, I'm sure. Like I might say to Johnson and Curry and those guys, because last year they did Hammer and Bolter, which Ricky won with his Precious Quartz. But I might say, well, why don't we all go to Italy?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it's an amazing place to visit. If anyone's watching this and hasn't been, trust me, it's an amazing place.
Yeah. Cool.
Because you'll never get used to seeing people on the mopeds swerving through traffic on what can only be described as the smallest of roads. But they do it every day, so they don't even blink.
I used to do it for the past 5-6 years. So I understand absolutely. Okay, man. So I really enjoyed it. I was really, really happy to have you, and we definitely have to do this again another time.
Yeah, sure. Anytime, man. Anytime.
Awesome. Okay.
Thank you very much for having me on.
Yeah. Okay. So thanks again, and we will see you soon, hopefully. Okay. Bye, man.